After we cross the milestone of 50, many people quietly believe that their best years of learning are behind them. Society sometimes reinforces this by telling us that the time for growth belongs to the young. But the truth is, the mind doesn't have an expiration date. In fact, research in neuroscience shows that our brains are remarkably adaptable, capable of creating new neural connections well into our 70s, 80s, and beyond. This ability, called neuroplasticity, means that our capacity to learn is not limited by age but by how often we challenge ourselves. I want you to imagine a man named Robert. At 54, Robert had spent most of his life as an accountant, a job he did well but one that didn't leave much room for creative exploration. After retiring early due to a health condition, he found himself restless. His days were quiet, but his mind felt empty. One afternoon, his daughter invited him to join a local photography class. At first, Robert laughed it off. "I'm too old to start something new," he said. But she persisted, and eventually, he agreed to go to just one session. That single session turned into weeks, then months. Robert learned how to use a camera, how to frame shots, how to edit photos. More importantly, he discovered a new joy, a sense of curiosity he thought he'd lost decades ago. This is the first lesson. Learning is not just about information, it's about awakening a part of yourself that has been quiet for too long. When we think about learning after 50, we often picture going back to school, sitting in a classroom, or taking an online course. And while those are valuable, learning can happen in so many forms. It might be learning a new recipe, practicing a new language, or exploring a skill you once set aside. Every new skill you acquire not only keeps your mind sharp but also builds confidence. And confidence is one of the best tools we have to navigate the changes that come with aging. But there's another side to this conversation, one that's deeply personal. As we grow older, our roles often shift. We may transition from being the busy parent to an empty nester, from a full-time worker to a retiree, from someone constantly surrounded by people to someone with more solitude. These shifts can leave us feeling like our identity is in question. That's why continuous learning is not just about mental health, it's about emotional resilience. Think of the brain as a garden. If you plant the same seeds year after year and never try anything new, the soil becomes depleted, and the garden stops thriving. But if you plant new seeds, whether it's learning a musical instrument, diving into history, or understanding technology, you enrich the soil, making it vibrant again. And the best part? You don't need to learn for a practical reason. In fact, learning purely for enjoyment is one of the greatest freedoms of later life. There's no exam, no career pressure, no deadline, just the joy of discovery. And joy, as studies have shown, is a powerful contributor to physical and mental well-being. But maybe you're thinking, it's too late for me. I'm not as sharp as I used to be. This is where we need to challenge a damaging myth, that memory and learning ability inevitably decline at a rapid pace after a certain age. While it's true that some aspects of memory change, many cognitive skills actually improve, like vocabulary, pattern recognition, and problem-solving based on life experience. By engaging in active learning, we can slow, and in some cases reverse, certain declines. Consider the story of Maria, a 62-year-old grandmother who decided to learn Spanish so she could communicate better with her daughter-in-law's family. At first, she stumbled over the words, frustrated by her slow progress. But instead of giving up, she practiced daily, sometimes only for 10 minutes a day. Within a year, she was holding conversations at family gatherings, laughing at jokes, and forming deeper connections. That connection, not just the language itself, was the real gift. Learning gave her a bridge to people she loved, whether your motivation is personal growth, relationships, or simply curiosity. The act of learning has the power to open doors you didn't even know were closed. So, the next time you feel a spark of interest in something new, don't dismiss it. That spark could be the beginning of an entirely new chapter in your life, one where you're not just aging, but evolving. One of the biggest barriers to learning after 50 isn't a lack of time or resources, it's fear. fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of feeling out of place among younger learners. But here's the truth: when we were younger, learning was often tied to judgment, grades, report cards, performance reviews. There was always someone evaluating us. In later life, you have the rare opportunity to learn without that pressure. You can choose subjects that excite you, methods that fit your style, and timelines that suit your pace. You are learning for yourself, not for anyone else's approval, and that freedom is powerful. Let me tell you about James, a 58-year-old mechanic who always loved music but never played an instrument. For years, he convinced himself it was too late. Then one day, while waiting for his car to be serviced, he saw a flyer for beginner guitar lessons at the local community center. He signed up on impulse. At his first lesson, he fumbled so badly that his fingers ached and his confidence wavered, but he kept showing up. 6 months later, he was playing songs for his grandchildren, their faces lighting up with pride. James didn't just learn guitar, he rewrote the story he told himself about what he could and couldn't do. That's the kind of transformation that learning can bring. Scientists have found that when we learn new skills, especially ones that challenge us, we stimulate areas of the brain that protect against cognitive decline. Activities that combine mental effort with physical coordination, like dancing, painting, or playing an instrument, are particularly beneficial because they engage multiple brain systems at once. So, when you feel awkward in those first attempts, remember that awkwardness is your brain growing stronger. Now, you might be wondering where to start. The beauty of today's world is that opportunities for learning are everywhere. You can take free courses from universities online, join community workshops, or even find tutorials on YouTube for almost any skill imaginable. The key is to choose something that excites you enough to keep you coming back, even on the days when it feels hard. If you're unsure, try this. Make a list of 3 things you've always been curious about but never explored. Then, commit to spending just 10 minutes a day on one of them. 10 minutes may seem small, but it's enough to plant the seed of a habit. Over time, those minutes grow into hours, and those hours become milestones. And you don't have to do it alone. One of the most rewarding ways to learn is with others. Group learning not only keeps you accountable but also provides a sense of belonging. Humans are wired for connection, and shared experiences deepen that connection. That's why book clubs, walking groups, and community classes often become more than just learning spaces. They become support networks. In one community I worked with, a group of older adults started a skills swap program. Each person would teach something they knew: gardening, sewing, basic computer skills, in exchange for learning from someone else. It wasn't just about the skills. It was about valuing each other's knowledge and seeing that everyone, no matter their age, has something to offer. As you start your own learning journey, remember that progress isn't measured in speed. There will be days when it feels like you're not improving at all. That's normal. Growth often happens quietly, beneath the surface, until one day you realize you've crossed a bridge you didn't even know you were walking. I want you to think of learning as a way of adding color to the map of your life. Up until now, certain areas may have been blank or faded. Each new skill, each new piece of knowledge, fills in those spaces, making the map richer, more detailed, and more beautiful. And the most extraordinary thing is that the more you learn, the more your capacity to learn expands. It's like opening a window in a room you didn't know was dark. The more light that comes in, the more you see possibilities you never noticed before. So whether you choose to dive into art, technology, history, music, or something entirely different, give yourself permission to begin. You're not starting from zero, you're starting from experience. And that is a tremendous advantage. Your life so far has been full of lessons. Now, you get to choose the ones you want to learn next. One of the most beautiful outcomes of lifelong learning is how it changes the way you see yourself. After 50, it's easy to feel defined by the past, by what you've already done, the roles you've played, and the achievements or mistakes you've made. But when you commit to learning, you begin to define yourself by who you are becoming. That shift is powerful because it keeps the future alive in your mind. Instead of thinking, my best days are behind me, you start thinking, there's so much more ahead. I remember meeting Linda, a 67-year-old woman who had spent decades raising her children and caring for her aging parents. She told me she once dreamed of writing a memoir but always pushed the thought aside. Convinced she had nothing important to say, one day, a friend encouraged her to join a creative writing class at the library. At first, she was nervous, her hands trembled as she read her first piece aloud, but week after week, she grew more confident. Eventually, she completed her memoir, self-published it, and even held a small book signing. For Linda, the achievement wasn't just about the book, it was about reclaiming a part of herself she thought was gone forever. Stories like Linda's remind us that learning is deeply personal. It's not always about adding practical skills to your resume, sometimes it's about fulfilling a promise to yourself or proving to yourself that you can still grow in ways that matter. And here's the thing, this process doesn't just enrich you, it inspires others. When younger people see someone over 50 embracing change and curiosity, it challenges their assumptions about aging. You become a living example that growth has no age limit. The benefits of keeping your mind active extend far beyond personal satisfaction. Studies show that ongoing learning can reduce the risk of dementia, improve mood, and even enhance physical health by lowering stress levels. When your mind is engaged, your body often follows, your posture improves, your energy increases, and your overall sense of purpose becomes stronger. Purpose is a key ingredient in healthy aging. Without it, these can blend together in a way that feels empty. Learning provides structure, goals, and small victories to look forward to. Even the act of struggling through something new, whether it's mastering a yoga pose, learning how to code, or finally understanding how to use a smartphone feature, keeps your brain alert and resilient. But it's also important to remember that rest is part of growth, just as muscles need recovery time. After exercise, the mind benefits from moments of quiet reflection. Sometimes, stepping away from a challenge for a day or two allows ideas to settle and insights to emerge naturally. Balance your learning with moments of stillness, and you'll find both more rewarding. As you move forward, think about how you want your later years to feel. Do you want them to be defined by routine and familiarity? Or do you want them to be filled with discovery and possibility? You have the power to choose. The habits you cultivate now, curiosity, openness, persistence, will shape the years ahead more than any number on a calendar. Start small if you need to. Pick up that book you've been meaning to read. Join that community group you've been curious about. Sign up for that online class you keep scrolling past. Every step, no matter how small, is an investment in the richness of your life. And when you look back years from now, you won't just remember the skills you gained, you'll remember the way learning made you feel alive, capable, and full of possibility. I'll leave you with this thought: aging is inevitable, but stagnation is a choice. By continuing to learn, you keep writing new chapters in your life story. And the best part, you're the author, the student, and the hero all at once. So take that first step today and keep walking toward the version of yourself you've always wanted to become.